My wife and I have been married for 5 years. I thought our marriage was good. I have been quite busy recently because I've been secretly planning a surprise trip to Asia. My wife has always wanted to go, and over the years I've been saving up to take her. It's taken a lot of coordination with her best friend and my in-laws. Her best friend since middle school has been helping me to create a trip, since she has a much clearer idea of everywhere my wife wants to visit. My in-laws were going to watch our 2 kids for this trip. It was supposed to happen next year, and I was going to give this as her birthday gift, which was coming up this month. A few days ago, she confronted me out of the blue, saying she had proof I was cheating. It turns out that she's been tracking my movements and even followed me one night when I went to her friend's house to work on the trip details. She saw me go in, and that was enough for her to jump to the conclusion that I was having an affair. When I got back that night, she threw some of my stuff out and accused me of cheating on her. I tried explaining the situation without spoiling the surprise, but she wouldn't let it go. Eventually, we had a huge fight, and I felt forced to reveal the truth about the trip. I told her I was planning this special getaway and had been working with her best friend to make everything perfect. Her best friend confirmed this, and I even had to show her the trip info. She believed me after her mom confirmed it. Instead of relief, I'm extremely hurt. It became clear to me that she didn't trust me at all. She started tracking my movements, which is so gross, and that says a lot about where we stand. I canceled the entire trip. I told her that her lack of trust made me feel like all the effort I put into it didn't matter anymore. I don't want to go and pay for a trip with her after she didn't trust me whatsoever. She's angry, saying I overreacted and canceling the trip was too extreme. She kind of apologized for accusing me. More, sorry, but it's your fault type of deal. But she said she felt justified in her suspicions because of how secretive I've been. She thinks I should have been more understanding of her feelings, but I feel like jumping straight to cheating and following me showed a serious breach of trust on her part. I refused to rebook the trip, and she's now calling me an idiot. Her best friend is on my side and is also angry she jumped to cheating. She's also married, which adds insult to injury here. Edit. It was easier for us both to just meet up. My messages are connected to the iPad she uses often, and calls wouldn't work because of the time when her best friend was free. I would have to hide in the house or even leave so she wouldn't overhear the conversation. So you behaved in a new and secretive way, had clandestine meetings with another woman, hid information, and are now upset that your wife assumed something was going on? An affair is a very logical conclusion for your wife to reach. What would you have thought if the roles were reversed? Also, why did planning a trip involve so much help from her best friend? I don't think it's bad that you asked the friend. I'm just curious as to why multiple meetings were needed. Exactly. This was a one-time lunch meetup and take notes scenario. I've planned a trip to Asia before, and I've also planned trips for other people. I don't understand why multiple trips to our best friend's house late at night were needed to make these plans, especially a year in advance. OP is dumb. Nothing you secretly plan should alter your interactions with the person you're planning it for to the point that they think something is wrong. Also, his wife probably would have preferred to plan her own trip with her husband. You are the idiot. This is the problem with surprises like this. When your partner's keeping secrets and lying to you, you don't know the reason why. It takes time to trust yourself and realize there's something going on. Like it or not, people cheat, and so often the partner thinks, I had no idea. I thought we had a loving marriage. Update. I will ask my wife for couples therapy. We're not going on the trip, and if she refuses, I think this is divorce-worthy. There is no marriage without trust, and it's clear she has zero trust in me, and I've lost trust in her. I have 2 children with my late ex, Colin. My son is now 27, and my daughter's now 25. Colin and I broke up while I was pregnant with our daughter, but he remains a part of their lives until his passing just 6 months after our daughter was born. We hadn't worked out as partners, but we got along okay. Just very different people who couldn't make a relationship work and had kids very early in our relationship. Colin's family were in my children's lives from the start and remained a part of their lives long after he was gone. We never got along, but they adored my children, and my children adored them in return. Their favorite thing was the week they spent with his family each summer. When my daughter was 7 and my son was 9, I met my husband. We married after 2.5 years of dating, and we'd already lived together for a year. My husband has no children of his own. We had none together. He was a very loving stepdad to my kids. My kids and him have a nice relationship, but neither of them call him dad, and neither wanted to be adopted by him, which did come up a year into our marriage. He asked. I wanted to find out what the children wanted and spoke to them. They said no. This was not something they later asked for or wanted. My daughter's getting married next year, and she asked me if I would walk her down the aisle. I immediately said yes and was so moved by the fact that she felt I was the best and only person for the job. She even told me how much it meant to her that I never erased her dad when we weren't together when he passed. She said I always put them first, and I had been the best mom. I cried so hard. She asked her brother to dance with her in honor of their dad. My husband was upset he wasn't asked to walk her alongside me. Andy was hurt that I accepted without suggesting we should both do it. I explained that my daughter had her reasons to ask me. Then he mentioned the dance in honor of her dad and how she wasn't even doing that with him. I told him I was sorry he was feeling so hurt. He told me he felt like all the little things she asked him to do were just a way to keep the peace instead of her truly wanting him to have a role in her wedding. I'm still not sure what these things are, but I did ask, and he wasn't happy about them. He told me I should take a stand and insist he be included or I don't walk her down the aisle. I told him I wasn't willing to let my daughter down or myself. I told him it was very special to me and my daughter. He told me I'm not honoring our vows if I do this. Am I the idiot if I walk her down the aisle? Completely not the idiot. For my wedding, I asked my mother to be my matron of honor because frankly, she was an incredible mother. My parents were separated since I was a child. Dad walked me down the aisle, but I wanted a special place for Mom. If this is how your daughter wants to honor you at her wedding, you should let her and know how special your relationship is. Ask your husband if he were to do this, what role he thinks you should have. I'm genuinely curious as to his logic here. I say this as someone who didn't even have a good relationship with my stepdad growing up. I can't truly understand how hurt he'd be that he treated these kids as his own, and on a big day for her, he isn't even really included. Of course, that doesn't mean OP should have said no, but it does mean I think we should at least acknowledge that he can have hurt feelings too. People have this thing with step-parents where they're supposed to love and treat the child as their own, while also not making any decisions for them, not punishing them, and also not having any hurt feelings when they treat them like crap. I, 26 female, have been with my now ex-boyfriend, Eric, 28 male, for 2 years. Overall, we've had a good relationship. Nothing crazy until last night when things completely fell apart. We were at a bar with some of his friends, just having a typical night. Drinks, food, the usual. Eric and his friend, Mark, 28 male, were joking around, and Eric commented about how much Mark was eating. Something like, "Careful, Mark, you'll eat the whole darn bar." It seemed harmless at first, just typical guy humor. But then Mark looked right at me and said, "If only she knew." It was one of those moments where you instantly felt uncomfortable, as if something was going on behind your back. I had no idea what Mark was talking about, and the whole vibe at the table shifted. But before I could even react, Eric exploded. He went off on Mark, screaming at him to shut up, and even tried to get physical. His other friends had to hold him back. Mark didn't really react, which only made Eric angrier. The whole thing was awkward as heck, and we ended up leaving early. When we returned to my place, I couldn't stop thinking about that comment. So I asked Eric, what did Mark mean by "if only she knew"? What don't I know? And instead of answering me like normal, Eric lost it again. He started yelling at me, telling me to drop it and stop being paranoid. He dodged every question, getting more angry whenever I brought it up. I wasn't trying to pick a fight. I just wanted to know what was happening. It felt like something important was being hidden from me, and I wasn't about to let it slide. But he'd get more defensive and angry every time I asked. Finally, he stormed out of my apartment. He doesn't live with me, so I locked the door and called it a night. I didn't hear from him until this morning, and when I did, it was just more angry texts telling me to drop it and leave him alone. At that point, I was done. I won't sit around and be treated like I'm crazy for asking a simple question. I texted him back saying we're done. I need space, and if he can't be honest with me, I don't want any part of this relationship. End of story. Now, here's where it gets worse. He's been going around to our mutual friends, telling them that I left him for no reason and trying to make it seem like I'm the one who overreacted. Some of them have even reached out to me, saying I should have just let it go and that I'm blowing things out of proportion. I told them to mind their business. I don't care what they think. None of them were in that moment. None of them saw how he acted, and none of them have to live with the pit in their stomach that I've had since that weird comment from Mark. I'm not about to stay in a relationship where I feel like something shady's going on behind my back. If Eric can't be straight with me after 2 years together, what's the point? So, am I the idiot for leaving him over this? Not the idiot. Yeah, that was a huge knee-jerk reaction over nothing. I wouldn't be able to let it go at all, but I would have just gone right to Mark and been like, all right, Mr. Big Note, continue flapping your gums and finish that sentence. Don't ask, demand. I'll venture a guess. Ex-boyfriend used to be extremely obese and is very sensitive about it. He was being an idiot to his friend for indulging too much, and said friend took that personally, considering ex-boyfriend's own struggles with food. He deemed it appropriate to remind him of his own past by throwing out a veiled threat to tell OP. I think eating through the whole bar, being thrown back at your boyfriend, sounds like Mark implied your boyfriend was cheating on you with everyone and their mother. Judging from boyfriend's reaction, their accusation was 100% spot on. Remind your friends that you're allowed to break up for any reason at any time without permission from anyone else. And if they stay with someone who verbally abuses them, that's their choice, but it's not yours. I'm with you. He was out of line. Plus, he's probably eating out a lot of women. Are any of them Portuguese speakers? Because in Portuguese, eat can also mean get intimate. Just saying. Mark does. He always tries to show it off while we were eating out. Mark and him have known each other since they were 8. He was fat in high school, but lost all the weight before he graduated. He never gained it back for some reason. He has a good relationship with food. He's never said anything about it. He goes to the pool and beach with his shirt off. He's never talked about it before with me. Communicating wasn't his best trait. I, 25 female, had a breast augmentation about a year ago. It wasn't some huge drastic change. I just did it for myself to feel more confident. My boyfriend, 28 male, who I've been with for 3 years, was supportive through the whole thing. He even told me I didn't need the surgery, which was sweet, but ultimately it was my decision. Everything was fine for a while, but lately, he's been making non-stop jokes about my boobs. At first I laughed along because I can take a joke, but now it's constant, and it's starting to really hurt. Here are a few examples. We were out with friends and he goes, "Careful, don't hug her too hard. Those things might pop." Cue everyone laughing awkwardly while I just forced a smile. He'll poke at my chest and say, "I'm just checking if they're still there," even in public. Last night we were watching TV and he randomly says, "Do you ever miss your real ones?" Like seriously. But the worst one, the one that hit me the hardest, was when we were at a friend's party. He was a few drinks in and out of nowhere he says, "At least if we ever go broke, we can sell her parts to pay rent." Everyone laughed and I stood there completely stunned. It was mortifying. I laughed along awkwardly because I didn't want to cause a scene, but inside I just wanted to cry. The thing is, I've told him multiple times that it's making me feel bad. I even told him that some of his jokes really hit hard for me emotionally, but he brushes it off and says, "I'm just kidding," or "Don't be so sensitive." The truth is, it's gotten to the point where his comments actually make me cry. I feel so bad about myself, and instead of making me feel confident, it's making me feel worse than before. I've cried more than once because of it, and I don't even think he understands how much it's affecting me. I know he doesn't mean to hurt me, but these jokes are cutting deeper than he realizes. I dread going out with him and our friends now because I'm constantly worried he'll make another joke at my expense. It's exhausting, and it's starting to really mess with my self-esteem. Now, I'm wondering, am I being too sensitive? Is this my fault for taking it too personally? I just don't know anymore. Am I the idiot for getting mad at him and telling him to stop making jokes about me? Not the idiot. Ma'am, Contrary to what you think, he meant to hurt you with those jokes. And he doesn't only dislike the fact that you had them done, he hates you too. He's humiliating you in front of your friends multiple times and has disregarded your feelings about it. If you cried in front of him, it would make him happy because then he'd know his plan to destroy your self-confidence worked. Break up with him and don't look back. Oh my God, I think you're right. He didn't want OP to feel confident, so he was against her having the implants, and now that she has them, he's constantly trying to make her feel bad about it. Girl, he wants to hurt and humiliate you. Does it matter why? Get out of this relationship before your self-esteem is permanently compromised. Does anyone get the feeling OP's boyfriend is trying to get OP to break up with him, so he isn't the bad guy in this situation? Or has my morning coffee not worked its magic yet? He should have broken up with you after you got implants, but he was too cowardly. Now he's a resentful wuss making insulting jokes about you in public. Dump his butt and move on. You deserve better than him. My ex-wife and I share 2 kids. Our daughter's a teen and our son is a young teen. We divorced 11 years ago, and we share custody of the kids 50-50. My ex is remarried, and she has a stepdaughter in her home who's the same age as our daughter. My ex and her husband have tried to make the kids close, especially the 2 girls because they're the same age. This has not worked. I know from my kids' time with me that they have zero closeness to her, and my daughter in particular doesn't like her stepsister. From speaking to my ex about issues in the past, I know her stepdaughter has trouble with other kids liking her, and she gets excluded by them more frequently than she's included by others. This was something my ex wanted me to address with our kids before. My daughter and her best friend were invited to a Halloween party. This year, the kids are with me for Halloween, so she asked me for permission to go. I spoke to the hosting parent, and I felt that it was safe for my daughter to go under the circumstances. My ex discovered I had given our daughter permission to go, and she was furious. She asked why I hadn't offered to take her stepdaughter to begin with, because she learned I was dropping the girls off and picking them up. Then she mentioned her stepdaughter was excluded from the party and that every other kid in their grade was included. She felt that this meant our daughter should not be attending either in support of her stepsister. She tried to forbid me from allowing our daughter to go. I told her it wasn't a decision she could make. She argued that I should be encouraging a supportive sibling dynamic between the girls, and that it seems like our kids only support each other and not their stepsister, who they've known for more than half their lives. My ex told me I'd be a real idiot to a teen girl if I let our daughter go to this party. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your daughter's her own person. If she wants to go to a party and has your permission, and you're her guardian for that period, then you have the right to allow her to go there. You aren't encouraging any bullying or discrimination of your ex's stepdaughter, and you certainly wouldn't be encouraging any supportive sibling dynamics between the girls by punishing your daughter by not allowing her to go. Ex wants daughter to say, "I'm not coming to this party since my stepsister is not invited," to show solidarity. But your daughter doesn't even like her stepsister, and she doesn't want to give up her own social life. Forcing her to do this is a punishment. She would do it for her brother because they like each other and they support each other. They would stick together more and more because their mom, OP's ex, is making them uncomfortable by forcing their siblings' relationship and punishing them. What your ex is trying to do will backfire spectacularly.